Hi guys, and welcome to the Partyology Experience. You're here with Marcus and Emma. We're here today talking all things to do with Emma's wedding, which is coming around pretty quick. Lots going on, lots of planning, lots of things to think about, which I'm sure is causing you great anxiety and stress, along with everything else that's going on in the world at the moment.
Yes.
But today we're going to be talking about stationery, if you're doing any kind of stationery, gifts for the guests, bonbonnieres, and budget. So whereabouts are you in regards to stationery? I guess you're not having a sit-down dinner. Yours is a cocktail style, so you don't need to do table names and all that sort of stuff. But is there anything that you're doing along these lines, or?
So we're not, we don't really need any of those sort of things, but we do, like I want to have lots of signage, so I need signage is a whole new thing, another thing, but I need signage for grazing table, like I want really cute little sayings on it and all those sort of things. I want a bar menu, I want some really cute little sayings on the bar. So we all still have lots of stationery in regards to signage, but nothing really, like I'm not going to have like table 1 and table 2 and people's names and menus and stuff like that, but lots of signage in that sort of respect. I'll definitely have a welcome sign and stuff like that as well. So still lots of signage, just not in your average table number.
And so have you had to do much research for this, or is it you knew somebody, or?
So in regards to what I wanted, I found on Pinterest, like there's lots of cute little sayings you can find on Pinterest, like just for example, like alcohol made me do it, or things like that, like just funny little quirky things, or no party started with the salad or something. There's like cute little sayings you can have like that. So I found lots of those sort of things that I liked. I do have someone I'm going to be using to do all my invites and signage. So someone that I know personally, so that person will be doing it across the board, so everything will match to the invites and everything like that. So it'll just flow throughout the whole.
And it is good to have that consistency with your colouring. It makes planning everything, if you know, once you've picked your colour scheme, if it then ties in with all your, your invitations and all that sort of stuff, it makes life heaps easier.
Heaps easier.
Yeah. And so, obviously, you don't really need to do a lot, so it's not causing you a lot of great stress or anything like that. You've already found somebody. Has the cost been more than you thought, or it's not a great cost to you?
It's not a crazy cost in regards to this sort of thing. I didn't think this was going to be a massive part of the budget, so it's not something that I budgeted crazy amounts for. I think things to save the cost, like for example, for the invite, I've cut save the dates, and we'll do so everyone writes if they're coming on a website and sort of all this. So cut down the process a bit than what your traditional wedding would do. But that will save cost. The postage and things ends up being more expensive than most of the other things. So.
And look, I guess when we've talked about this in previous episodes about doing the wedding website and stuff like that, a lot, it's going to save you a lot of money if you're not doing a lot of stationery.
And having to post it.
If you're doing lots of printed stuff, then obviously it really starts to add up.
Yeah, it does.
And just from people are time poor these days.
They are.
So if it's convenient to go onto a website and send an electronic, yes, I'm coming to your wedding, rather than have to go get a stamp and post it and do all that sort of stuff.
Most people won't do that. They'll forget about it, and I probably will end up chasing everyone at the end going, are you coming or not? Yeah,
and so it ends up being a lot of work for you. It's work for them. So electronically these days it is a lot easier. And it is nice to get a written invitation in the mail. But at what expense, and is it the best experience for everybody involved to have to do all that work to send a yes, I'm coming to your wedding sort of thing?
Or not, So we'll just send the invite and that's it. And that'll be the only main thing that will be sent.
If we move on to the bonbonnieres or guest gifts, maybe gifts for your bridal party, other important people in your wedding. Have you thought much about that? Because that's definitely going to cost a lot more than in stationery in your case, I guess.
Yeah, I will. I'm not quite sure on what I'll decide to do with this. I want to do something that's like something that people can use. I don't want to have something that people will just throw out. I want something that will be useful or they can eat.
Fair enough.
Because we all like to eat things.
So
I have seen little cute little water bottles that people have had with like little Panadol and Nurofen on the front saying, take one home with you for tomorrow, or just like funny little quirky things like that. I like things like that, or some people put succulents in pots and people take a pot home. I don't know, I haven't really thought too much into it yet. I want something not over the top, but just something that people can use. I just hate, having to take something that you're probably not going to use.
So have you looked around much for this, or not really?
No, I haven't really done much research on how much it's going to cost yet. I kind of need to sort of work out what I actually want to do.
Yeah.
and then work out how much it's going to cost per person.
Yeah, because I guess it can add up pretty quickly if you've got 100+ guests.
Yeah.
If you're buying a gift for everyone, even if it's a small gift,
Yeah.
you know, even if it's $5, it still adds up pretty quickly.
It does very quickly.
And I'm sure that most gifts are probably at least $10. I'm guessing for
Maybe
these
5,
types
10
of things.
each, depends.
Yeah, minimum. So you know, can add up quickly.
Yeah.
And some people go all out, and some people just give them per couple. So depending on your budget, and
Yeah.
if you've got lots of couples there, and it's something they can both use. At the end of the day, it's a token, isn't it?
It really is a token.
Yeah, like everyone understands that weddings are quite expensive.
Yes.
So yeah, it just depends on
Yeah.
how much you want to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next thing, which that leads into, I guess, is budget. And we've talked about budget before.
I love budget.
Yeah. And how are you going with budget? Is it becoming painful yet? Are you really starting to, I guess, get down to the nitty gritties? Like, where are you at with your budget at the moment?
Well, I'm the budget queen. I'm the budget queen when it comes to anything. I do our household budget. I do every budget of every single thing that I have in our lives. So I like doing a budget. It's just sometimes I don't really like what the end number is.
So obviously you've done more research in the past weeks, and you're starting to realise that things are going to cost more than you thought?
I think in my head I already knew, and I think I already knew that it was going to be over what I thought originally we would spend, and it's not until you put things down on a piece of paper. I've actually got now a full organised wedding budget, so I can put all the pricing and everything like that. So actually the lady who's doing our stationery has actually put this together from her own wedding, so it's a really good thing to use. It's a great template, so I'm using that at the moment. So I have budgeted what I think most things will cost. I think I've gone overboard on some things, but I do know that some things may be more. So currently I'm sitting about $5,000 over the budget, so that's not too bad, and I had already sort of gauged that was what was going to happen, but I just don't want to.
But have you got factored in every cost at this point, or there's still more to go?
Yeah, there's more.
So it could be potentially a lot more then.
It's all the little things that I haven't, accounted for, that I need to account for. Like I haven't done, presents for the bridal party, like little things that I know that they'll end up being thousands by the time I've added them all together. So I'm trying to cut back on a couple of things. So instead of spending $1,500 on the jewelry, I spend $1,000. So that saves me $500. Just little things like that. Just trying to cut costs on some of the other things. Still not skimming on those things though. I really want to make sure I get what I need for those particular, points. But making sure that I don't spend the top budget I put in there at the moment, because I will be going way over. Yeah,
and I guess again comes down to what sort of wedding do you want? What's most important to you? Spending the money on the things that are going to make the difference on the day. So. Have we talked about, before, entertainment and dancing and all that sort of thing? If that's super important to you, you've got to make sure your budget goes in on that. Or if florals are your thing and you want it to look really nice in regards to flowers and smells and all that sorts of thing, then you've got to spend the money on important things like that. I know a wedding we did a few years ago for a couple, and they were big on the party side of things. They were having it in a big mansion down in the Mornington Peninsula. They'd hired a great space, had a tennis court, big pool.
Yeah, I remember this one.
Yeah, and the bride wanted it to be super fun. Yeah. And she came and saw us, and at the time when she happened to come into the showroom, we had a light-up dance floor set up, and we were just playing around with it, and she loved the look of it straight away. Hadn't thought of a light-up dance floor for a wedding. Most people don't. But for whatever reason, she saw it, and she got it in her head that she wanted it, but was whether it could fit in with her budget. And we then talked about different things to do with her wedding, and she said at the venue there was a pool there, and she wanted to put flowers in the pool, and she'd been quoted, I think, a couple of grand for flowers just to float in the pool, which most people wouldn't really see once it got dark anyway. And so she ended up spending less on the flowers and more on the dance floor, and that's where everyone was for most of the night. All the photos with people dancing, having fun. The flowers, I'm sure, would have looked nice, but was it the best spend for her budget? Probably not.
Not in the pool, at least.
Yeah, and she was so glad, speaking to her afterward the wedding, she was so glad because she wanted that party and she wanted it to be a bit fun and different at the end of the night for the party side of things. So, not taking away from flowers, I think flowers look great, but if your budget doesn't allow to do that, then you need to spend the money on the things that are going to make the difference.
Yeah, most important parts.
Yeah.
You want.
So so is budget then causing you a lot of anxiety, or?
It doesn't cause me anxiety. I just think I'll just reshuffle costs because I do all the budgets for everything else. I'll just shuffle costs. Yeah. I think.
Hit your boss up for a raise or something like that, or
there you go.
Rob mum and dad or something like that.
Yeah, some of those. Yeah. So I think I am one of those people where I'm not going to be like, this is my budget and I'm not going to go over it and I'm going to stick to that and I'm going to, be less on other things. I think at the end of the day, if you're going to spend a portion of money like we are, and I think most people do, 5,000, 10,000 over. Like, I know that sounds like a lot, but sometimes I'm like, like, it is what it is. Like, and I don't think in 10 years' time, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I spent 5,000 or 10,000 over budget. I'll be like, how awesome was our wedding? And I'm so happy I spent that extra money. So my headspace is like that. My partner's is not.
Yeah. Is he having a stress about it?
We've decided that we've made the decision that we don't talk budget. So
that's how you make it to the wedding.
Yes, that's how you stay married.
Yeah.
So I think more for the fact that because I had more of a realistic idea on how much things cost, I understand. Whereas because he has no idea how much things, I tell him how much things cost. He's like, you've got to be joking.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Like, he loves cars, and he tells me he's buying a car part, and I'm like, how much? Like, how are you spending that much money on a? And he's like, well, it's how much it is. So. Unless you understand how much things cost.
It's what's important to you, isn't it?
And he's like, it's not that the wedding's not important to him, but those things are not important to him in the scheme of things at the moment. So I think for our, lives and making sure we stay like going to get married, we just don't talk budget.
Yeah.
And he's just, I think if it costs, and I think a lot of people do this, like I know girlfriends have done this in the past where they've told their partner it's 15 and it's ended up being like 18.
Yeah.
And you know what? They didn't know any different. They had a great time.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
That's right. If it adds to the overall experience, I'm all for spending extra money.
On stupid things, I think if your wedding budget's 50,000 and you end up spending 70, I think then you need to be really thinking about, are you spending the money on the things that you need?
Yeah.
But if you spend 50 and it's getting closer to 57 and you really need to have that particular band or that particular thing that's really important to you, then spend the extra money.
Yeah. I've been, doing so many weddings. I've been some to 50 grand and I've been some to 30 grand or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, just spending more money doesn't always mean it's going to be a better party.
But make sure you spend it on the right things and the things that mean the most for you, because you are the one that's paying for it and you're the one that's going to enjoy it with all your family and friends. And be smart about it too, though. Like, there is things that people, I think, spend money on, that it doesn't really, at the end of the day, matter.
And I know people that borrowed money and got into debt for their wedding.
Lots of people do that now.
Been paying it off 10 years later, and the money that they borrowed to spend on the extra stuff didn't even make a difference.
Yeah.
So
it's a fine line, and I think, don't get too over the top, stick to what you think you're comfortable with spending. At the end of the day, it's not a massive show. Just, I know there is a whole different type of brides. There's brides that want to just do really casual, some that it's just a show for them, and they have hundreds and hundreds of family members that they're going to invite, and this is what they do. This is their biggest thing they do in their whole lives. So it really depends on where you're in the scale, but we need to, you need to be calm and not turn into a bridezilla. And this is meant to be happy, not aggressive, nasty time.
And the budget's usually the thing that causes the most stress.
It is.
Yeah, but I guess if you can take anything out of all this, it's doing your research, isn't it?
Do your research
because
and get
this
pricing.
is where you're getting this is where you're getting the shocks where you're going, oh, I didn't realise the photographer was 10 grand, or I didn't realise the venue was going to cost me 20 and I thought it was only going to be 10.
Yeah, well, don't do your budget unless you worked out how much these things cost.
Do a lot of research first. Work out what's most important to you, if it's flowers or photographers or bands or whatever it is. Pick those things first. Make sure then you can afford those things, and then work out everything else from there. But if you don't do your research, how do you know? And we get it from our business, our Feel Good events. We quite often get quotes for give quotes to people for decor and styling, and they just don't realise the amount of labour and time and equipment
involves.
And so they do get a bit of a shock sometimes, and then they cut it back or whatever. But again, it's what's important to them and whether
Pinterest
they see the value in it. Yeah.
Pinterest and Instagram and stuff like that. It's a great resource to find inspiration, but you also need to understand that a lot of those things that they post on there, like the grand setups, they cost a lot of money and time to install.
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
So, don't get, I want that particular fairy light installation. The amount of times we've had people send photos of one particular fairy light installation that I want this, and I'm like, that's probably a $40,000 custom installation. So, you can do things and scale them back and do something that, would be within your budget, but you've got to be realistic about some of these things as well.
So have you worked out then, you talked about a little bit there about cost cutting.
Yes.
Is there certain things that you would cut out altogether, or you're just not sure at this stage because you're still doing
There's nothing
research?
I cut out. I think it's just working out what do I start making less or cutting down. I don't think
getting a cheaper version, maybe.
Yeah, that's correct. I think the thing is that I'm not going overboard. We're not spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars on our wedding. So I think we're already doing it on quite a decent budget already. And I think if I was to start cutting things out, I'd be leaving big chunks out.
Yeah.
Or I'd be really sort of I'd be taking away things that I really want to spend money on, and I
Yeah.
don't want to cut back on florists because I think that the budget I've given her is going to get what I need
Yeah.
and the look I want to achieve. And for me personally, it's really like I would be upset
Yeah.
taking it away.
And from what you've said, to be honest, most of the things you've said are at the lower end of the budget.
Not at the
Like,
top.
you're not being excessive
No.
on anything. $3,000, say, on flowers or something like that is very, I'm sure.
Minimal.
Nat will tell you from Fox Evergreen that, she would
5,
get
6, 7, 8,
10, 20, 30,000,
Yeah.
like way more than that. So, a few $1,000s
Yeah.
is really quite minimum. Entertainment, you're sort of,
not spending crazy
big
amounts, maybe
people
2,000.
People will spend 10 grand on a band for
Yeah.
some, depending on what they want.
So yeah, I'm very
you
low
can easily
scale
spend more.
compared to what people are spending. So it's just moving pricing around, but I think the budget will definitely go over, and I've accepted the
Yeah.
fact. It was more the fact that the other day I was like, I'm already sitting at the budget I thought I would be over,
And you haven't even
and I
got
haven't even
everything
done
yet.
a little thing in there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what am I going to start working
Might
out
have to start selling things from your house.
Yeah.
Or spend less on your renovation. It's silly, girl,
Yes.
trying to do renovations and
Oh, renovations.
organise a wedding at the
and,
same time.
everything under the sun.
We'll be talking a lot more about budget because I think this is a big thing, and as we say, can cause a lot of stress for brides and grooms. So we'll be talking about that in future podcasts. But thanks, Emma, for sharing all that insight today.
That's
and
okay.
thanks everyone for listening, and we'll hope to see you soon.